All right, so I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time reviewing this film. I've got things to do, places to be. So I'm going to keep this around 10 minutes. But do we want to sing a happy song? I don't know. Look, the more I've sat with this film, my out of the theater reaction, it still stands about where I stand. I've softened a little bit. Is this the worst film in the world? No. In fact, is this the worst Smurfs film in the world? No. It's better than the first two with Neil Patrick Harris by a long mile. And I'll tell you why. Because even though we go into the real world in this one, again, we're not, there's no main character human in this movie. We just see some random people. That's it. Like, it's not, the main human character is Rosmel. It is, who's part of it. Well, technically, he's part of it. He's a wizard. And that fits. But there's no, like, Neil Patrick Harris type of character in this at all. Which, you know what? Even if you're in the real world, is refreshing. Now, someone did note when I made one of my complaints about how there isn't Smurfette supposed to be the only female Smurf. Apparently, in the lore, there are other female Smurfs out there, but I guess they're just part of other tribes or whatever. And no one, but that still doesn't explain the one clearly female voice acted male Smurf. Like I'm sorry, that's a female or at least a assigned at birth woman's voice. Like maybe they're not binary. I don't want to like make any assumptions, but still, that voice that's not a male looking character's voice. So I'm like that still doesn't answer that. But okay, so that's fair enough. But honestly, the problem this film suffers from me is still going into the real world. So that's the problem. That's a problem right there. Like we don't need that with the Smurfs. We don't. And then B, it's trying too hard. Like surprisingly, some of the stuff that you see in the trailer, influencer Smurf, isn't real. That wasn't a real thing in the movie. That was strictly for the trailer. But then it's like sound effects Smurf. It's like okay, that's a what was it? Map making Smurf. All right, fine. There were a couple of jokes though that were like way in the back Smurf. I'm over here. Like okay, that's kind of good. There were jokes with the Smurf like titles that works fine. That I actually did get a laugh at. And I'll say this. Oh god, too. When we're in, let's say, like the Smurf world, there are scenes that look very nice. Like visually, they're very nice. Not like the most beautiful thing in the world or anything, but they're nice looking scenes. I gotta give props to that. I'll say this: all the voice acting is fine otherwise, but where where this film starts to find its problem is really in its story beat or its story hook, if you will. You have No Name Smurf who doesn't have this thing yet, and we automatically know what it's going to be because he says, like, "What if I could be magic?" No Smurf's ever done magic, but we see in the trailer he's doing magic. Now there is a reason for the magic, but it's like, well, we know what that story's going to be, and they're like, "Look, it's a Smurf movie. I'm not looking for super complex stuff, but all right, fine, this will be part of the journey." But then there's the side note of Smurfette as well. It's like, wait, haven't we done this there? Like in other Smurf movies that have come out, not just in the series? Like, yeah, we know she was made by Gargamel and Rosmel. We know that. Why are we focusing on it again? There's no point to it. So that's a problem. And then there are just characters that whatever. I'm like the snooter posts or something like that. It's like like okay. Like I will admit, Ron Swanson 10, which I was half expecting to say. Some people think I'm more of a Ron, but I'm really a kid. Like I was half expecting that joke to be made. I'm surprised they were able to keep that. To be fair, I don't know how many people would have gotten the joke, but for the people who actually watched Parks and Rec, it would have been a nice call. I will admit I do enjoy his character being just kind of an ass to these Smurfs because he's kind of right. They're way in over their head, but still, still he is being a bit of a dick, but in a fun way. Like you do like his character. I'll also say this: there's a third Smurf character because him, Papa, and one other character, and we see this character briefly in like the trailers. And I wish we saw more of him based on who voices him. Because that character you don't see in the trailer except for like one shot. So I don't want to spoil that in case you care about spoilers at all for this movie. But I'm like, based on his voice and how they portray this character, I would have liked more of it. Like, what if this character had shown up earlier in the climax of the film and been like super badass or something like that? I don't know. It's just some wasted potential there. Like the message, whatever message you can say this movie has, it's fine. It's not like terrible or anything like that. It's just a Smurf stuff. But then like Papa Smurf, they're doing that la 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 la, and then Papa Smurf starts DJing. I'm like, I get Rihanna's voicing Smurfette, and they do have like 2 songs in the movie, not enough to make it a musical, but 2 songs. But man, this is where the modern crossover stuff does not work with the Smurfs. They live in a world that's timeless, really, and they're not characters that you can really do that with. This is why, even though now people, and you might, to be fair, people might say it's like, well, those movies made a lot of money. Yes, so did the Transformers movies. That doesn't make them good. Just because a film makes a lot of money doesn't make it good. And yeah, the Smurfs don't need pop culture references or modernization, really. They are timeless little creatures. I do remember watching the Smurfs as a kid sometimes, and I liked them for what they were. I don't know. I feel like the Smurfs are just one of those characters that maybe as a series they work better, but as a movie, it's just really hard to kind of crack the code on them. I mean, no movie's impossible for everything I'm hearing. For example, Fantastic Four had 4 technically. The Corman was ever really put in theaters just so they could keep the rest of it. 3 failed attempts at the Fantastic Four. It's like, but they barely made money. Like that first one made some money, but then the second one lost money. Like, no. Then everything I'm hearing about this new one, they hit the mark. They finally got it. So nothing is impossible to make. Nothing is impossible. Even that, what was it? That one with Oprah Winfrey and Storm Reed and A Wrinkle in Time. I bring it to you that I don't even think that it's impossible to make that a good movie. I think it might be difficult, but not impossible. Like, it's all about translation, script, and all that. And I think the script hurts this film a little bit, definitely, and the concept of going into the real world again, whatever. Either way, though, is it the worst film I've ever seen? God, no. Is it the worst animated film I've seen? Do I like Elio more than this? Because I haven't seen a lot of animated films this year. But Elio is better than this. I would rewatch Elio before I rewatch this, I'd say. But there's one other movie that now that my internet's back in my house, I got to actually sit down and watch it from beginning to end that currently stands as the best animated film of the year. I have been requested to review this film. I haven't had a chance to watch this film, or get a chance to review because I haven't had a chance to watch it in full yet. But now, fingers crossed, should be able to do it. And I'll reveal that like next time I do a review. Anyway, I digress. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.